Mommy. Welcome to Nighty Night Stories. Today, we're going to hear a wonderful bedtime story. Are you ready? Let's get started.
The Midnight River's Secret. In the quiet village of Willowbrook, everyone had heard tales of the Midnight River, a stream that ran only on the darkest nights and sparkled under the full moon. The older folks said the river held secrets and stories from ancient times, but no one had ever dared to explore its mysteries, believing it was just a bedtime tale. Except for Leo. Leo was a young boy with a heart full of curiosity. One clear evening, he looked out his window and saw the full moon rising above the hills. He knew this was his chance to see the Midnight River. As the village slept, Leo slipped on his shoes, took a small lantern, and crept quietly down the winding path toward the edge of the forest where the river began. When Leo reached the river, he saw something that took his breath away. The water was shimmering with tiny lights, twinkling and dancing as if alive. It wasn't just any glow, it was a soft, silvery blue that seemed to sing and hum with the night's breeze. As he moved closer, Leo heard a soft, whispering voice rise from the river. "Who comes here in the night?" the voice asked, gentle but powerful, like the wind in the trees. Leo, though a bit startled, took a deep breath and answered, "It's me, Leo. I wanted to know the river's secret." The river chuckled, a sound like bells ringing softly over the water. "To those who are brave and kind, I share my stories," the river replied. Suddenly, the sparkling lights gathered in one spot, slowly forming the shape of a beautiful fish with scales like liquid stars. The fish's eyes gleamed with ancient wisdom, and as it swam in place, it beckoned Leo to follow along the riverbank. As Leo walked beside the fish, the river began to tell him tales, stories of creatures that lived under its waters, of birds that sang from the willow trees, and of animals that once called the forest home. The fish's voice was soothing, and Leo listened intently, feeling as if he had entered another world. Long ago, the fish began, a young otter named Ollie got lost while playing in the river's reeds. He was too far from home, and the night was growing cold. But Ollie didn't lose hope. He listened carefully to the sounds around him. When he heard the call of his mother echoing over the water, he followed it back home. This is the way of the Midnight River. Even in the darkest nights, there is always a light or a voice to guide you. Leo's heart swelled with wonder, feeling the warmth of the otter's story. Then, the fish said, "Would you like to see more of my secrets, young Leo?" Leo nodded eagerly. In response, the river shimmered even brighter, revealing tiny sparkling shapes rising from the depths. There were shimmering minnows, delicate water lilies, and glowing dragonflies. Each one seemed to carry a story, a memory of the creatures that had once lived by the Midnight River. The fish showed Leo a place hidden under the riverbank, where ancient carvings lay beneath the water, symbols of the animals and people who had relied on the river long ago. These markings were made by those who respected the river's wisdom, the fish explained. They honored the water, and in turn, I guided and protected them. As they moved along, the fish shared one last tale. A long time ago, a family of fireflies was caught in a storm. They were nearly swept away, but the river lifted them gently, guiding them to a safe place under a leafy branch. From that night on, the fireflies lit up the river's path, grateful for the shelter they found here. Finally, as the sky began to lighten, the fish turned to Leo. Now, young friend, you know the Midnight River's secret. Carry these stories with you, and remember, even when things seem dark, there's always a path lit for those who listen and seek with an open heart. Leo's eyes sparkled with gratitude, and he whispered, "Thank you, Midnight River. I'll never forget what you've shared with me." As the first light of dawn touched the treetops, the fish and the shimmering lights faded back into the depths, leaving the river as still and quiet as it had been before. Leo walked home, feeling he carried a piece of the Midnight River's magic with him, a secret he'd cherish forever. The Little Star Gatherer. In a small village by the mountains, there was a girl named Alara who loved to look at the stars. Every night, she sat outside with her grandpa, watching the sky sparkle. Her grandpa would tell her stories about star gatherers, magical people who collected the brightest stars to bring light to dark places. One evening, while Alara was stargazing by herself, she noticed a soft, glowing path in her backyard, leading up a hill. Curious and excited, she followed the glowing path until she reached the top. There, she saw something wonderful. A tiny person with silver hair that sparkled like the stars. He was carrying a golden basket full of shining stars. Alara gasped. "Are you a star gatherer?" The little star gatherer smiled warmly. "Yes, I am. My name is Lumen. I gather stars to bring hope and magic to places that need a little light." Alara's eyes shone with excitement. "Can I help you?" Lumen thought for a moment, then handed her a small golden net. "Only those with a kind heart can gather stars," he said gently. "If you want to help, try catching the brightest stars you can see." Alara looked up at the sparkling sky and swung her net, catching a few tiny stars that floated down like soft snowflakes. She placed each one in Lumen's basket, feeling a warm glow in her heart. The two spent the night collecting stars. Each one had its own little glow and made a soft humming sound, like a gentle lullaby. As they worked, Lumen told Alara that each star was a wish or a happy memory that would bring comfort to someone who needed it. Just before dawn, Lumen looked at Alara with a grateful smile. "Thank you, Alara. You have a kind heart, and the stars will remember it. Every time you see a bright star, know it's a reminder of your kindness and warmth." With a gentle wave goodbye, Lumen disappeared into the morning light, carrying his basket of stars. Alara watched him go, her heart full of wonder and joy. From that night on, whenever she looked up at the stars, she felt their gentle glow and remembered her magical night helping the little star gatherer. The Rainbow Butterfly's Journey. In a quiet meadow surrounded by tall trees and blooming flowers, there lived a tiny gray butterfly named Raya. While other butterflies had beautiful, colorful wings, Raya's wings were plain and gray. Every day, she watched her friends with their dazzling patterns and bright colors flutter gracefully through the air. Raya wished with all her heart to have wings as beautiful as theirs, shining with the colors of the rainbow. One evening, Raya overheard two birds talking about a magical place called Rainbow Falls. They say anyone who reaches the top of the falls and makes a wish will be granted a gift, chirped one bird. Raya's heart fluttered with excitement. Perhaps the magic of the Rainbow Falls could transform her wings. Early the next morning, Raya set off on her journey. The path was long and filled with obstacles. The winds were strong, pushing her back and making her wings tired. At one point, a tall, thick bush blocked her way, and it seemed too dense to fly over. Just as she was about to turn back, a wise old owl perched nearby spoke up. "Every journey has its trials, little one," the owl said with a gentle smile. "But with patience and courage, you can find a way through anything." Inspired by the owl's words, Raya looked around and noticed a small gap between the branches. She carefully squeezed through, grateful for the encouragement. As she continued her journey, she met a friendly ladybug who shared some water and a tiny piece of leaf for her to rest on. "You're so close, Raya. The falls are just over that hill," said the ladybug, cheering her on. With renewed energy, Raya flew up and over the hill, where she finally saw the Rainbow Falls. The water sparkled as it cascaded down, casting colorful mists that filled the air with a magical glow. Raya's heart raced as she approached the top. Taking a deep breath, she whispered her wish, closing her eyes tightly. When she opened them, Raya felt a warm, tingling sensation in her wings. As she glanced back, she could hardly believe her eyes. Her wings had transformed into a radiant display of colors. Every hue of the rainbow was there, shimmering in the sunlight. Raya flapped her wings in delight, leaving a colorful trail wherever she flew. Raya returned to the meadow, her heart full of joy and pride. The other butterflies gathered around, admiring her beautiful wings. But more than her colorful wings, it was Raya's courage, determination, and the kindness of those who helped her that made her journey unforgettable. From that day on, Raya flew with confidence, her rainbow-colored wings reminding her that anything is possible with a brave heart. The Lost Village of Dreams. Once, hidden deep in a misty forest, there lay a secret village called the Village of Dreams. Only those with the purest of hearts could find it, and every night, the villagers would gather to share their dreams under the starry sky. But as time passed, the village slowly vanished from memory, becoming a legend that few believed. In a nearby town lived a curious little girl named Mia. She loved stories, and her favorite was about the mysterious Village of Dreams. "Is it really real?" she would ask her grandmother, who would smile and say, "Only the ones who believe can find it." Mia wished with all her heart to see the village, wondering if it was as magical as the stories told. One quiet night, Mia had a strange dream. A soft, silver light shone through her bedroom window, and a gentle voice whispered, "Mia, follow the moonlight, and you'll find the Village of Dreams." When she awoke, the moon was still glowing brightly outside her window, and Mia felt a sudden urge to follow its light. Quietly, Mia slipped out of bed, tiptoed down the stairs, and headed into the forest, letting the moonlight guide her. The trees swayed as if they knew her secret, and the path seemed to open up just for her. After what felt like hours of walking, she reached a shimmering archway made of starlight. She took a deep breath and stepped through. On the other side, Mia found herself in the most enchanting place she had ever seen. Tiny houses glowed softly, and the air was filled with the scent of flowers that only bloomed in dreams. The villagers wore gentle smiles and carried lanterns that sparkled with the light of their dreams. Mia couldn't believe her eyes. She had found the village of dreams. A friendly old man approached her and handed her a small lantern. "Welcome, Mia," he said kindly. "Here, every visitor is given a lantern to keep their dreams safe. Tonight, you can share your dreams with us, and we'll share ours with you." As the villagers gathered in the square, they took turns opening their lanterns, letting their dreams light up the night sky like stars. Mia's lantern glowed with warmth, and she wished for kindness and happiness for everyone she loved. The villagers' dreams twinkled around her, filling the air with hope, joy, and wonder. As the night grew late, the village began to fade, and Mia felt herself becoming sleepy. The villagers waved her goodbye, whispering, "Remember, Mia, the village of dreams will always be here, as long as you believe." When Mia awoke the next morning, she was back in her own bed, but beside her pillow lay a tiny glowing lantern. She smiled, knowing that the village of dreams was real and that she would always carry a piece of its magic in her heart. The Talking Moon. In a small village nestled between rolling hills and sparkling rivers, there was a rumor that, on special nights, the moon could talk. The villagers would gather around the lake on clear nights, watching the bright moonlight dance on the water and wondering if the tale was true. Among them was a curious boy named Leo. He had always dreamed of talking to the moon and hearing its stories. One night, when the moon was especially full and bright, Leo decided to stay by the lake long after everyone else had left. The air was quiet, and the stars twinkled as if they were sharing secrets with the moon. Suddenly, a gentle voice echoed through the night. "Hello, Leo," the voice said, soft and warm. Leo looked around, startled, until he realized the voice was coming from above. It was the moon. "Is it really you, moon?" Leo asked, his eyes wide with wonder. "Yes, Leo. I only speak to those who truly believe in the magic of the night," replied the moon, its voice filled with kindness. "I have watched over this village for centuries, listening to your dreams and wishes." Excitedly, Leo sat by the lake, listening as the moon shared stories of the stars, distant galaxies, and all the wonderful things it had seen. The moon told him about the children who wished on shooting stars, the animals who danced under its light, and the ships that sailed guided by its glow. "Why do you shine so brightly every night?" Leo asked. The moon chuckled gently. "I shine so that I can keep everyone safe in the dark. I light up the night for those who feel alone, scared, or sad, reminding them that they are never truly alone." Feeling grateful, Leo shared his own dreams and hopes with the moon. He talked about his wish to explore, to learn, and to help others. The moon listened closely, its light growing warmer and brighter with each word Leo spoke. Before long, dawn began to break, and the moon whispered, "It's time for me to rest, but remember, Leo, I'm always here. Whenever you feel lost, just look up, and I'll be watching over you." As the sun rose, Leo returned home with a heart full of joy and a newfound sense of wonder. From that day on, he never felt alone, knowing that the moon would always be there to listen, lighting up the night with its gentle, comforting glow. The Garden of Eternal Spring. In a quiet village surrounded by rolling hills, there was an old story about a hidden garden where it was always spring. The villagers called it the Garden of Eternal Spring, and it was said that whoever found it would discover endless beauty and joy, where flowers never wilted and birds always sang. Amara, a young girl with a deep love for nature, would sit by her window each night, gazing out at the fields, imagining what it would be like to see the Garden of Eternal Spring. She dreamed of flowers with petals as soft as clouds and colors more brilliant than a rainbow. One day, I'll find it, she promised herself. Every day, Amara would wander the meadows, exploring new paths and collecting wildflowers. She was so curious and kind-hearted that the animals would often follow her as she walked, sensing her gentle spirit. One sunny afternoon, as she strolled along a trail hidden by tall, golden grasses, she noticed a shimmer of light dancing between two ancient trees. "What's that?" she whispered, stepping closer. The light was unlike anything she had ever seen, soft, warm, and inviting. Curiosity bubbling inside her, Amara squeezed between the trees, pushing aside branches and leaves until she found herself in a place that took her breath away. Before her lay a garden more beautiful than she had ever imagined. Flowers of every color filled the air with their sweet fragrance, while gentle butterflies floated from blossom to blossom. Cherry trees blossomed overhead, their pink and white petals falling like gentle snow, and a crystal-clear stream wove through the garden, its waters sparkling in the sunlight. "Oh, is this the Garden of Eternal Spring?" Amara breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "Yes, it is," a soft, musical voice replied. Amara turned and saw a graceful lady standing by a tall rose bush, her gown woven from petals and leaves, flowing gently like a breeze. "I am the guardian of this garden," she continued, smiling kindly. "Only those with a pure heart and love for nature can find their way here." Amara's heart swelled with joy as she explored the garden. Each flower seemed to reach out to her, swaying gently as if greeting her, while tiny birds chirped happily overhead. Amara knelt beside a bed of bluebells, marveling at their delicate beauty. Every flower, every leaf, every petal in the garden seemed to be bursting with life. "Is it true that it's always spring here?" Amara asked, looking around in wonder. The guardian nodded, her face warm and serene. "Yes, my dear. Here, flowers never fade, trees remain green, and the air is forever filled with the scent of blossoms. It is a place where the beauty of nature is celebrated, and only those who truly appreciate its wonders can enter." The guardian led Amara to a small pond surrounded by lilies that glowed like tiny lanterns. Peering into the water, Amara saw her reflection smiling back at her, and for a moment, she felt as though she was part of the magic itself. She watched the birds drink from the pond, their tiny wings flickering like stars as they flew off to perch among the branches. As the hours passed, Amara met friendly animals who made their home in the garden, a family of rabbits nestled in soft moss, playful squirrels darting up trees, and a wise old owl who nodded approvingly as Amara passed by. She spent what felt like forever there, her heart full of peace and joy as she watched the creatures play and the flowers bloom. Just as the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting a golden glow across the garden, the guardian approached her gently. "It's time to go, Amara," she said. "But remember, the beauty of this garden will live in your heart forever. Take its magic with you and share it with the world." Reluctantly, Amara took one last look at the garden. She ran her fingers over a soft pink rose, feeling the petals' warmth as if it were alive. "Thank you," she whispered, feeling as though the garden itself was smiling back at her. The guardian led Amara back to the hidden path between the trees. As she stepped out into the familiar meadow, Amara found a small, glowing flower tucked in her pocket, a gift from the garden. She planted it in her own yard, and from that day forward, her little garden bloomed with a special magic, as though a piece of eternal spring had followed her home. Every spring, Amara would tell her village the story of the hidden garden. People came from all around to see her flowers, which were always the brightest and most beautiful. And whenever she looked at them, she could still hear the guardian's gentle voice and feel the magic of the garden of eternal spring in her heart. The Silver-Winged Owl. In the heart of an ancient forest, there was a legend of a wise owl with wings as silver as moonlight. This owl, known as Silvius, was said to be able to answer any question and guide lost travelers home. His feathers shimmered like stars, and he only appeared to those who were brave and true of heart. One crisp autumn evening, a young girl named Mira ventured into the forest. She was searching for her brother, Finn, who had wandered too far while chasing fireflies. Though she had never been in the woods at night, Mira was determined to find him. The trees loomed tall around her, their branches twisting like giant fingers against the darkening sky. "Finn! Where are you?" she called, her voice echoing through the silence. As she stumbled over roots and through fallen leaves, a soft hooting sound drifted down from above. Mira looked up and gasped. There, perched on a high branch, was an owl with wings that glimmered silver in the moonlight. "Are you Silvius, the silver-winged owl?" Mira whispered, almost afraid to believe her eyes. The owl spread his shimmering wings and flew down to a lower branch, his large golden eyes gazing at her with kindness. "Yes, I am Silvius," he said in a gentle voice. "Why have you come so deep into the forest, young one?" "I'm looking for my little brother, Finn," Mira replied, her voice trembling with worry. "He's lost, and I don't know how to find him." Silvius nodded thoughtfully. "Finding someone lost requires both courage and trust," he said. "But I will guide you. Follow me, and remember to listen to the sounds around you, for the forest always whispers its secrets to those who listen." With a graceful leap, Silvius took flight, gliding silently through the trees. Mira followed, her heart pounding but her spirit calm, comforted by the owl's presence. As they journeyed deeper into the forest, she noticed things she hadn't seen before: the soft rustle of leaves, the faint glow of mushrooms, and the sparkling of fireflies lighting their path. "Listen closely, Mira," Silvius said softly as they walked. "The forest holds many secrets, and it can show you the way if you trust it." Suddenly, Mira heard a faint sound, someone calling her name. Mira. It was Finn's voice, faint but unmistakable. Finn. I'm here, she called back, her heart leaping with joy. She ran toward the sound, guided by Silvius's calm presence. Before long, she found her little brother sitting beside a tree, rubbing his eyes. Mira! Finn cried, jumping up and hugging her. I got scared, and I didn't know how to get home. It's okay, Finn. I'm here now, she said, holding him close. She looked up to thank Silvius, but the silver-winged owl was already high in the branches, watching them with a serene gaze. Thank you, Silvius, Mira called, her voice filled with gratitude. Silvius gave a gentle hoot and spread his wings, taking flight once more into the night sky. His silver feathers shimmered one last time before he disappeared among the stars. Holding Finn's hand, Mira led him out of the forest, her heart full of wonder and gratitude for the wise owl who had guided them. And every night after, when she saw the moonlight touch the trees, she would think of Silvius, the silver-winged owl, who watched over the forest and all who wandered through it. The Secret of the Crystal Cave. High in the misty Evermist Mountains, there was a legend about the Crystal Cave, a hidden place filled with crystals that sparkled like stars. The villagers believed it held a secret power, but no one had ever dared to look for it. Only someone brave and kind could uncover its mystery. In a small village at the base of the mountain, a boy named Leo sat by his window, staring at the thick gray clouds that had covered the sky for weeks. The sun hadn't shone, and the village was cold and dark. What if the crystal cave could help us, he thought. One chilly morning, Leo decided to find the cave. He packed a small bag with bread, a water flask, and his trusty lantern. I'll bring the light back to our village, he said. The path up the mountain was steep and slippery. Snow crunched under his boots, and the cold wind made his cheeks red. But Leo didn't give up. As he climbed, he noticed strange, magical things. Trees that glittered with frost, glowing moss on rocks, and tiny silver birds chirping softly. The birds flew ahead, stopping now and then as if waiting for him to follow. After hours of walking, Leo found a small opening in the rocky cliff. It was hidden behind a curtain of icicles, almost invisible. Holding his lantern high, Leo crawled inside. The tunnel was dark at first, but soon crystals appeared on the walls, glowing softly in shades of blue, green, and pink. Leo's heart raced as he walked deeper into the cave. Suddenly, he heard a low, gentle humming sound. He followed it to a large chamber where a massive crystal stood in the center. It shimmered with golden light, swirling inside like a tiny sun. The air felt warm and peaceful. With trembling hands, Leo reached out and touched the crystal. Instantly, warmth filled him, and a deep, kind voice echoed around the chamber. You have a brave heart, little one. Take this light, and share it with your people. The golden light poured out of the crystal and into Leo's lantern. The cave glowed brighter, as if it was happy to help. Leo whispered, "Thank you," and carefully made his way back out. When he stepped outside, he gasped. The heavy clouds were breaking apart, and sunlight streamed through, lighting up the snowy mountain. The silver birds chirped joyfully and flew in circles around him. Leo ran back to his village, holding the glowing lantern high. The villagers gathered around him, amazed at the warm golden light. "It's the light from the crystal cave," Leo said, his voice full of excitement. "It will keep our village bright, even in the darkest times." The golden light from Leo's lantern filled the village with warmth and hope. From that day on, the crystal cave's gift became a part of their lives. And every winter, when the skies turned gray, the lantern's golden glow reminded everyone that courage and kindness could light up even the darkest days. The Great Pumpkin Adventure. In a quiet little village surrounded by golden fields, people were excited about the annual pumpkin festival. Every year, villagers brought their biggest and best pumpkins. But one pumpkin was always too big to move. They called it the Great Pumpkin. The Great Pumpkin was huge and beautiful, and some believed it had magical powers. A curious girl named Emma decided she would find a way to bring it to the festival this year. One sunny morning, Emma walked to the pumpkin fields. The Great Pumpkin sat in the middle, surrounded by sparkling green vines. As Emma got closer, she heard a tiny voice. "Hey, you!" Emma jumped back and looked around. "Who's there?" Down by her feet, a tiny green creature peeked out from the vines. He had leafy hair and a playful smile. "I'm Sprout, the pumpkin guardian. What are you doing here?" "I want to bring the Great Pumpkin to the festival," Emma said. Sprout raised an eyebrow. "You? That pumpkin is too big for anyone to move." Emma didn't give up. "There must be a way. Can you help me?" Sprout grinned. "Only if you pass my test. You'll need courage, kindness, and clever thinking." Emma nodded. "I'll do my best." Sprout led her through the pumpkin fields. First, she had to cross a wobbly wooden bridge over a sparkling stream. The bridge creaked and swayed, but Emma stayed calm and made it across safely. Next, she found a group of squirrels tangled in the pumpkin vines. They chattered nervously. Emma gently untangled them and set them free. Finally, Sprout asked her a tricky riddle. "What has no legs but can run fast?" Emma thought for a moment and smiled. "A river." Sprout clapped his tiny hands. "You passed the test. Now, let's move that pumpkin." With a wave of his hand, the Great Pumpkin's vines began to glow and lifted into the air. Emma watched in amazement as the pumpkin floated above the fields. Together, Emma and Sprout guided the Great Pumpkin to the village square. When the villagers saw it, they cheered and clapped. That night, under the starry sky, they held the biggest pumpkin festival ever. Emma smiled as she looked at Sprout. "Thank you for helping me." Sprout winked. The Great Pumpkin is magical, but so are you, with courage, kindness, and clever thinking. And from that day on, the Great Pumpkin became the heart of the festival, glowing softly under the moonlight. The Sparkling Seashell. Deep beneath the ocean, where sunlight danced on the waves, lived a young mermaid named Coral. She loved collecting seashells, and her collection was the finest in all the ocean. But there was one seashell she dreamed of finding, the legendary Sparkling Seashell. It was said to shine brighter than the stars and bring happiness to anyone who found it. Many had searched for it, but no one ever returned with the shell. Coral decided she would be the one to find it. One morning, Coral packed her small pearl bag with seaweed snacks and set off. "Wish me luck," she told her friends, the playful dolphins, as they swam by. The first stop on Coral's journey was the forest of waving seaweed. The tall seaweed swayed gently, whispering secrets of the deep. As Coral swam through, she met a friendly turtle named Shelly. "Where are you going, Coral?" Shelly asked. "To find the sparkling seashell," Coral replied. Shelly nodded. "Be careful. The ocean is big and full of surprises. Here, take this." She handed Coral a small glowing pearl. "It will guide you in the dark." Coral thanked Shelly and continued her journey. Soon, she reached the Coral Canyon, a place filled with sharp rocks and narrow paths. As she swam through, she noticed a tiny crab stuck between two rocks. "Help! I can't get out," the crab cried. Using her strong tail, Coral pushed the rocks apart. "There you go." The crab smiled. "Thank you, kind mermaid. Here, take this starfish charm. It might be useful." Coral added the charm to her bag and swam on. Finally, she arrived at the deep blue cavern, where the sparkling seashell was said to be hidden. The cavern was dark and silent, with shadows that seemed to move. Suddenly, a large shadow appeared. It was a gentle giant octopus named Ollie. "Who dares enter my cavern?" Ollie asked in a deep voice. "It's me, Coral. I'm looking for the sparkling seashell," she replied bravely. Ollie studied her for a moment. "Many come here, but they forget that the seashell's magic is not for greed but for kindness." Coral showed Ollie the glowing pearl and the starfish charm. "I've helped others on my way here. I don't want the shell for myself. I want to bring joy to everyone in the ocean." Hearing this, Ollie smiled. He reached into a hidden crevice and pulled out the sparkling seashell. It gleamed with colors of the rainbow. "You have proven yourself worthy," Ollie said, handing her the shell. Coral held it close, feeling its warmth and magic. "Thank you, Ollie. I promise to use its magic for good." When Coral returned to her village, the ocean seemed brighter. She shared the shell's light with everyone, bringing happiness and peace to all who saw it. From that day on, Coral was known as the kindest mermaid in the ocean, and her story of the sparkling seashell was told for generations to come. It looks like our little one has already drifted off to dreamland. May your dreams be filled with joy and adventure.